that the era of hybrid intelligence had begun. And the narrative was slowly and gradually shifting from AI versus coaching to AI plus human coaching.
So when you started with building this bot, Rajnish, the thought that this bot could disrupt you one day.
Good question, Chetan. I like that. I'll tell you why that thought did not come to my mind. In the recent ethics document that was released by International Coaching Federation, AI finds a mention in that document as well. If any coach is using any AI-enabled tool, I think it is very, very important to get a written consent from the client.
Good morning, Rajnish. Welcome to this podcast.
Good morning, Chetan. Thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast.
You're welcome. Glad to have you here. Welcome to this podcast in our series, AI Adoption in Organization Crossing the Chasm. So far in the podcast, you have listened to the startup founders who have come and share their journey, how they are enabling other organizations on the AI adoption journey. Today, we have got a leader with us who has 20 plus year experience in people and talent development in organizations like Reliance, Genpact, British Council, and he is currently Global Coaching Director with S&P Global. He believes deeply that the self-development is the way to transformation, not only self, but the organization also. Today, in his role with S&P Global, he works with the team members at all levels while focusing at the leadership to help them navigate the change, transition, and in way of his continuous learning, he recently did a webinar to share his experience of building a Gen AI-enabled coaching tools. And the topic of webinar was using AI to power career journey forward. And we have 1,500 people join that webinar. Now I'll invite my close friend, my ICF PCC fellow, Rajnish Malhotra. Rajnish, tell us more about this webinar. Coming from a L&D background, coaching with various hats, I know various credentials you have from ICF and others also. And now getting into building a Gen AI enabled tool and doing this webinar attended by 1,500 global participants. How does this happen? Tell us about it.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Chetan. And I would first like to congratulate you for starting this podcast, and it's doing great. I've watched all the episodes of your podcast, and there is a lot to learn. There is a takeaway for everyone here. So first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you, Rajnish.
There are two reasons why we did this webinar. The first one was there's a lot of curiosity around AI and how can people benefit from AI. The second was, as career coaching team, we often discuss about how can we create greater access for our people? Or in simple words, how can we make coaching and other career development frameworks more accessible to our people? You would also know you've been in the learning and development field and leadership development for such a long time. Not everyone is comfortable in sharing their innermost concerns with an individual. No matter how much you tell them about maintaining confidentiality and everything, there is still some hesitation. So therefore, this was very big on our agenda. We have a total headcount of about 40,000 people across various regions. And we wanted to create something that will give a sense of psychological safety to our people, those who are especially not comfortable in talking to career coaches. So this is what led to the development of this career coaching bot. What aided in this development was our organization's effort in creating Gen AI related tools. So we created an internal generative AI tool about a year ago. And since then, it's been absolutely crazy. It gave us a platform to create a career coaching bot. And like I mentioned, a lot of curiosity. And that is what led to this webinar with an intention that let's introduce our people to this career coaching bot, show them the features, and also tell them how can they benefit from it. The message was also clear that it's not a replacement for your career coaches, not as of yet, but it is more of an enabler. It will help you to warm up before a career coaching session. So these were the intentions, Chetan.
Very interesting, Rajnish. Typically now, Gen AI is something which has created a lot of excitement, a lot of fear also. And I see that you're actually putting it as a tool, as an assistant with a multi-purpose to help coaches to scale the access, right, in multiple ways.
Yeah.
It could be just the accessibility. It could be enabling the psychological safety to reach out to a someone who can help you out. At the same time, you're also giving the team members across organization a very helpful use case for them how Gen AI can help their career.
Exactly.
So how has been the journey, Rajnish, when you started the tool? I'm sure you would have done some MVP, POC, and you would have got a response. So how has it transitioned from that state to state today?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. One advantage that I had was generative AI was the buzzword in our organization. It still is, but it's been the buzzword for last 6 to 8 months or so. Our leadership was very clearly providing all the resources that they can to help people in the organization to not just understand the basics of AI, but also start doing something with it. So there were multiple resources created, Chetan. First of all, there were training resources created so that people can understand what generative AI is all about at a very basic fundamental level. And then an internal Gen AI tool was created that gave an opportunity to people to play with it, basically experiment with it and see what they can do. The technology team got very actively involved, and it helped a lot of functions to create their own version of a bot. As of right now, as of today, I can tell you that within the human resources team, we have about 12 actively running bots in different functions. So all of that, a huge credit to the leadership in the way they promoted and supported not just the learning of Gen AI, but active use of generative AI as well. So, you know me, I don't like to be left behind. I have a FOMO, fear of missing out. So I wanted to get onto the AI bandwagon. And I'm very curious to know what's happening in AI. So for last 1 year, I've been reading a lot of articles as well. And there are some practitioners, some very credible practitioners who I have been following on LinkedIn, like Jonathan Wright, Nikita Blanche, these people. So I've been reading their articles as well. So I was already in that zone where I wanted to do something with AI. With the launch of that Gen AI tool, I reached out to my manager and I told him that I'm interested in it. He knew about my interest. So he said, go ahead with it. So we collaborated with the technology team, and the first step really was to create a set of instructions or an algorithm in terms of how should a AI respond to any type of a query. So the input that we had given to the AI was very simple. We said we are going to create AI in 3 phases. The first phase is the phase in which we will give total and complete access to our people of all the internal career coaching resources and documents. So we created a SharePoint and integrated that SharePoint to that bot. So whatever people see right now, it's based on what we have created. So it's a controlled environment. Typically, you would notice that with LLMs, when somebody would enter something, the response comes from anywhere from the internet. Now, that response could be true. It could be false as well, because it is not verified. It is not authenticated. But the content that we were providing was 100% authenticated because we were controlling it in terms of the documents that we have created. So there was this direct access that we created there. Second, we also gave very clear instructions in the algorithm about the tone that this bot should adopt. So the tone needs to be calm. The tone needs to be supportive. The tone needs to be more inquisitive and, most importantly, curious. So if someone is asking a question, we want the bot to be curious and ask a follow-up question to understand what's really the context there. So we gave those set of instructions to the bot. Took us about 2-3 months in completing all those instructions. Once those instructions were done, then we started with the testing. So I did a lot of testing. I entered some 50 to 100 prompts, and I learned prompt engineering before that. Because one thing that I can tell you to all your loyal audiences here, Chetan, that if you really want to use any LLM model effectively, be it your internal AI, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or whatever it may be, learn the art of prompt engineering. So that's what I learned first. After that, we shared the link to all our HR functions, our HR colleagues, some colleagues in business as well to test. They did the testing. We got some very useful feedback. We integrated that feedback into the system, tested it again. I think we tested with really 1,000 prompts. I must say that we took our time. We were in no rush. And after that, when we got this confidence that, the bot is responding in the way we would like the bot to respond, like a true coaching bot, which is curious, inquisitive, flexible, open, things like that, then we went on to launch that bot. And this webinar we did was to introduce our colleagues to this bot and show how it can benefit them, or basically introduce them to a resource that is available at their disposal.
Very interesting, Rajnish. So when you started with building this bot, Rajnish, the thought that this bot could disrupt you one day.
Good question, Chetan. I like that. I'll tell you why that thought did not come to my mind. Because 6 months ago, based on the research that I was already doing, I was convinced that the era of hybrid intelligence had begun. And the narrative was slowly and gradually shifting from AI versus coaching to AI plus human coaching. The learning that I required as a coach was to understand, how can I partner with AI? How can AI become my enabler? What can I use AI for? And as I did more research and spoke to the technical team, I realized that it is quite easy to partner with AI, not just to increase the accessibility, but to also elevate the coaching experience for our people. Now, human capacity is limited. And if technology is your enabler, then your coaching practice can go to the next level. So typically when we started in our current model, AI helps us with data analysis, deep data analysis that is available at an instant to us. It helps us with pattern recognition. So if I'm having coaching conversation with a client and I've had 3-4 conversations, AI will be able to inform me of some patterns that are emerging from those conversations, not just about the client, but about me as a coach as well. So it gives me an opportunity, it gives me some really deep insights about the client and about myself that can take my coaching practice to the next level, that can totally elevate the experience of coaching. So that was the intention with which we had started. So that's why I would say, Chetan, that the thought that it could disrupt me didn't really come to my mind. And not just me, we are a group of 4 internal coaches, and all of us felt that way. That let's understand how can we benefit from this tool rather than being scared of it.
That's really walking your talk. You're not only building a tool, not only telling others to do, you've shown how you are benefiting with it, Rajnish. So I think that's the true leadership. So Rajnish, you brought the data thing and the pattern. And in the coaching, the confidentiality is a very big thing. So while you speak about the pattern building with the data the tool is collecting, how are you ensuring that data confidentiality is being taken care?
That's a very important question, Chetan. And you would already know that in the recent ethics document that was released by International Coaching Federation, AI finds a mention in that document as well.
Yeah.
So it's a big consideration these days. And I would like to answer this question in 2 parts. First part is directly related to the webinar that we did. We were very conscious of the fact that people in our organization are concerned about data privacy and confidentiality. So we ensured that the webinar was created in such a manner that it respects their privacy and their confidentiality. So there were no peer-to-peer coaching session or peer-to-AI coaching session. No one was put in the spotlight. No one was asked to share the response that they have received from the coaching board. Nothing of that sort. The way we created this webinar, it was largely based on the idea of creating a hands-on experience for our people. So we created customized prompts for them based on 3 or 4 broad themes like career progression, managing change, people leadership, and so on. And those customized prompts were created in a way that it would resonate with them. They were based on the day-to-day routine things that happen in everyone's life. So it would connect with their lived experience. That was the idea. The other thing that we did was that on purpose, we left a certain part of the prompt blank. And the reason why we left blank is because we wanted people to fill in that blank based on their requirement, their need, their experience, so that they're able to get a very unique and a personalized takeaway for themselves. So this made it very personalized, very secure, and very confidential for our colleagues. And that was one thing that got appreciated the most. In fact, it was there in the feedback as well. So this is one way that we maintained confidentiality in the webinar. About regular coaching practices, I think if any coach is using any AI-enabled tool, I think it is very, very important to get a written consent from the client. And while you are taking that consent, it becomes even more important that you explain the process to the client. Like even if I'm using TurboScribe or Otter to transcribe my calls, I would tell that to my client that, hey, I'm going to use this to transcribe our calls. I'm going to use this tool to do some pattern recognition. I'm going to use ChatGPT and TurboScribe to do reflection for myself to see how I have done and how I could do better. I would use this particular tool, maybe Zoom AI, for example, to do some sort of pattern recognition. So you got to be absolutely honest with the client here and tell them the objective behind it. Like I'm very upfront with my clients. I tell them that I'm using this tool because I'm using it as an enabler for my coaching so that I could see any kind of patterns emerging either in you or in me so that we could use that deep insight to our advantage. So you got to be very open on that and do get a written consent because that's very important. Not just verbal consent. I think please do get a written consent on that.
So written consent and the transparency is the key, Rajnish.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's taking care of the client side or the coachee side. And you earlier mentioned you work closely with the technology teams to build this. In technology, I think everyone is aware about the criticality of data protection. However, the coaching brings, I would say, some additional layer to it. So did you have to coach here technology partners and what else need to be done when they are building the bot for this particular purpose?
Not from a pure play confidentiality perspective, Chetan, but we did sensitize them about what should not be in scope. And this is what every organization should be careful of. Like, for example, if someone is talking about workplace harassment, in entering about workplace harassment in a coaching bot, then that's really not our scope. So it's very important that the bot recognizes those keywords and then rather than engaging with the person, with our colleague, it tells them the right contact. It refers them to the right contact for workplace harassment related issues or employee relations related issues. If someone is talking about payroll, it's not something that a coaching bot should respond to. It is, again, we give them the right reference to get your payroll queries resolved. So another layer involved in this coaching bot is integration of the coaching bot with other functions. So as basic as someone, if we have to recommend some skill development courses to people as a part of our coaching conversation, then the bot is integrated with our learning and development page. So we would refer them, we would provide them with that link. If it is a payroll related query that we cannot answer, we will provide them with the payroll link. So we were that deeply involved in terms of not leaving our colleagues in the lurch and giving them some answers that they could look into. Now, as far as confidentiality is concerned, Chetan, I appreciate your concern on that. But see, at an organization level, the way this bot's been created, it totally respects an individual's data privacy and confidentiality because it doesn't let you save it. So if you are not able to save it, it means even in the background, you will not have any access to it. So suppose I enter a prompt and I get a response. Now I need to enter another prompt, right? So the previous prompt will go. So that's the technology that is in place. Plus, there is no one in the background who is looking at these. We haven't set up anybody to look at these kind of prompts and see what are people saying and stuff like that. That's not the part at all. Even in the dashboard that we create, we do not get names of people who have used our dashboard. We do get to know the regions. Okay, from this region, these many people are using it, or from these business segment, these many people are using it, but we don't get the names. So that's another way we maintain confidentiality.
And you kind of preempt my question, Rajnish. I was going to ask that earlier. You mentioned about building the patterns. So now if you're not saving how you're building patterns,